What's going on, Eagle fans? Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Talk with Geoff. Post-game, Eagles, Falcons. Remember the old ABC promos they had back in the day? A lot of younger fans probably may not have heard of it, but those of you my age, we remember the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. This is definitely agony of defeat. Leave it up to the Eagles to pull defeat from the jaws of victory. This has got to be one of the worst games in a while. Really, probably since last year when you had expectations high, when they were 10-1, or maybe even after the first few losses to the 49ers when they got beat up really bad and then really started their slide. Because the ones that really hurt the most is what I'm saying are the ones that you have expectations that are high. They're coming off a big win against the Packers in a game that had, we talked about how big of a win that was because of the implications. This is Green Bay's a playoff team, and you want to win those conference games. Here's another conference game, goes the other way. The Eagles, there's no doubt they're the better team. And you got to win these games. It's a home opener, the true home opener. Nick Foles Day, all the momentum, and you blow the game. There's like three factors, three big plays or decisions that were made or not made that cost the Eagles the game. We're going to get into that. But first of all, those of you who are new, and I expect that to be most of you because I just launched this YouTube platform recently after being on the audio podcast for over 200 episodes. I have made my YouTube debut a couple weeks back. So if you're here for the first time, hit that subscribe and like and comment. And I'll be doing future. I'm trying to build up an audience first before I go live streaming. And I kind of started live streaming before I even kind of built an audience. So I want to make sure the audience is there. And because really the idea here is I want to be able to engage with the fans. Rather than keep it live stream all the time, I want to make sure we get some build up of subscribers first. So make sure you do that. Make sure you subscribe. Really appreciate it. Now, let's get into the game. Eagles lose in a game that I have no idea how they lost, but they lose to the Falcons. I do know why they lost, but it's just amazing that they actually ended up losing this game. But the warning signs were there all game long. I wrote some notes down during the game, so I'm going to kind of take you through my thoughts. First of all, the opening drive, which now becomes even more important because they lost. Nick Sirianni's decision to go for it on 4th and 3 rather than kick the field goal and get the points. Obviously, if you did that, the Eagles win this game. Now, I think it was the worst call in the world to go for it at home. 4th and 3 inside the 5 or inside the 10, wherever they were. No, I'm not going to say it's the worst decision, but, you got to start taking points. You can't go for it all the time. And, obviously it looks like a, Monday morning quarterback or, looking back, and it obviously cost the Eagles the game because if they had those 3 points, they would have won. But I'm not going to kill Sirianni about it, but I don't like going for it all the time. Sometimes you just got to take the points, and this is when it came back and bit them. But my biggest concern about that first drive, you have Barkley chewing up 7, 8, 9 yards per carry during that first opening drive. And then they get into the red zone, and they don't give him the ball. They don't give him the ball at all. They get the ball to Gainwell a couple times. Now, I'm not saying it's Gainwell's fault, but you got Barkley, who they can't stop that opening drive. You get into the red zone, he brings you down there, and then you don't give it to him at all. In fact, he's not even on the field. This is the stuff that just drives me nuts. So that's my biggest issue, even more than going for it on 4th down and not getting it. Battle of field goals, really. Most of the first half. The big touchdown to Smith to give the Eagles the lead was a great play set up prior to that by Hurts, who made that long run and barreled his way to the first down. That was a great play by Hurts, who really played a pretty good game overall, except for the last series when the Eagles needed him. They needed their $40 million quarterback, and he threw another horrible pick. We'll get to that. I have major concerns coming out of this game about our pass rush. Where is it? The best pass rusher on the field was our 36-year-old Brandon Graham from the outside. The only one who's getting any pressure. I said in the pregame, and I feel like a complete moron, and I kind of was saying it probably just because I want to see something, so I just put it out there and tried to speak it into existence, that we'd finally see some kind of signs of life from Bryce Huff. Nothing. But did I even hear his name mentioned other than just talking about the acquisition of him? No. Nowhere to be seen. No impact at all, unless he was the one that was supposed to be supporting the edge on some of these runs by Bijan Robinson, and he wasn't there, and obviously led to long gash runs by Robinson. He has been a 100% total bust. I know we're only 2 games into the season, but we didn't hear his name at all in the preseason. We didn't hear his name at all even in OTAs. We didn't hear his name at all. Nobody was ranting and raving at all. And I know preseason, I sometimes criticize people who go crazy about preseason and all that. Yes, there's something to be said about that. But we didn't hear a peep about Huff at all. And now we're finding out why. I mean, he is a complete and utter waste of money. This was a huge mistake by Howie. If we're going to point out how great he is all the time when he makes good decisions and good trades and whatnot, we have to point out the huge mistakes that he makes. And right now, Huff looks like a complete, total waste of a roster spot, and certainly of the $50 million contract they gave him. This looks really bad right now. Again, plenty of season for him to turn it around. But have we seen even a glimpse of impact by Huff yet? Through 2 games? Nothing at all. It's so concerning to me. And at this point, you really got to wonder why they just didn't give Reddick the money. We miss Reddick right now a tremendous amount. We can't get a pass rush. It's not just Huff. From anybody. The other part of the Howie potentially terrible decisions was drafting Smith. Where has Smith been? Every time I see him out there, he's getting a lot of playing time. Can't say it's because of lack of opportunity this year. He's out there a lot. And I ain't seeing him doing anything. That looks like a complete waste of a first-round pick. Now we know why he fell in the draft, because he just can't play. And I like the guy. But he is non-existent out there. If we don't get a pass rush from this defense, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. Josh Sweat, you expect a lot out of this guy. He's not doing much. He does well against the run, which not many played well against the run tonight at all. We're going to get to that in a second. But no pass rush from Sweat either. Brandon Graham was the only one who got through on the outside. We got a few inside rushes. Milton Williams had the big sack, the only sack we had in the game. He continues to be kind of like the underdog. Nothing from Jalen Carter. He got some penetration in there a little bit, but really he's been a non-factor now through 2 games. And then Davis, nothing. Now he's supposed to be the run stuffer. I think it was deep into the third quarter that Bijan Robinson was averaging almost 8 yards per carry. Now, he's a great back, but come on now. I mean, our D tackles are supposed to be the strength of this line, and they were gashed repeatedly, not even just by him. Algizair, their backup running back, he was averaging like 5-6 yards a clip. I mean, terrible. And then we saw, from the second half of the Green Bay game, Josh Jacobs was running all over the defense too. So this defense is very concerning right now. Very concerning. The inability to stop the run and having zero pass rush now in 2 straight games. Zero. In fact, Reuben Frank made a great, I watched a little bit of postgame. He said, and this is hard to believe, this is the Philadelphia Eagles we're talking about. Reuben Frank said that it has been 6 straight games where the Eagles have had no sacks from an outside edge rusher. He said that, and that blew me away. That is beyond unacceptable. Beyond. This is the Philadelphia Eagles. We pride ourselves into getting at the quarterback's ass. So that blew me away. That should come off the page. And really get the Eagles to do something. I don't know what they could do. It's not like there's a lot of guys out there. But if I was Howie, I would get on the horn with the Jets, who can't figure out how to get things done with Reddick, and make the trade back. Give him Huff back. And probably because Huff is making so much money, and that's the reason why the Jets let him go, because they didn't want to pay him. They don't want to pay Reddick either. I would even pay some of Huff's contract to trade him back to the Jets and then bring Reddick back and pay Reddick what he wants. That's how much the Eagles need a pass rusher right now. They are a desperate team for pass rush. So right now, that looks like a monumental mistake by the Eagles organization, letting Reddick go and then trading for Huff, thinking he's going to replace Reddick, and he has been a zero factor so far. Zero. So major concerns about the pass rush, major concerns about the inability to stop the run. Now, Bijan Robinson is one of the best young running backs in the league. We know that. He's talented. But the guy's almost getting a first down every run. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And then again, BG is the only guy getting any pressure. Now, the guy that I was praising, you can go back to previous episodes, go back to my audio episodes, okay, which you can do on YouTube, because like the past, I think my last 2 or 3 weeks of my audio podcasts are on YouTube. You will hear me talking about the, training the last couple of preseason games, talking about Booker and how I wanted that guy to make the team because he was out there dominating. Now, I know it was only, he's playing against second and third stringers, but he was owning them. He was busting his tail, and I'm like, this guy's got to make the team. Now, tonight, they brought him in because they were getting gashed so badly, and who was making the plays? Who was the one that's getting through? Almost every single time he was in there making plays was Booker. I want to see it. I'll tell you what, if Davis can't get his act together, and it's looking more and more like he's a bust pick, I want to see Booker in there. We can't be screwing around. We need guys that make plays in this defense. And Booker, in the few times he's in there, makes plays. He did it tonight. And those of you who have the ability to go back and watch the game again, watch when Booker's in these games. Watch him tonight, whenever 59 was in there. Watch him. He did more in his 5 snaps around. I don't know how many plays he was in. It wasn't many. But almost every single one he was in, he was making a play. He was getting into the backfield. He was making a play. And I didn't see Jordan Davis do it the entire game. So, 3 main reasons why the Eagles lost. It's amazing they lost this game. They were leading until the very, very end. But here's the reasons. One, you can say Sirianni and going for it instead of kicking a field goal early. That one I would rank probably the lowest on this list. Second reason, probably biggest reason, one of the biggest reasons, it's hard to knock the guy because he's played great in the first 2 games, is Barkley. You got to make that catch. You got to make that catch. Saquon, you have to make that catch. Giants fans were applauding. I mean, it's too bad because he had such a good game, and, we love what he's done so far. But you have to make that catch, Barkley. The game was over. Make the catch, the game's over. That's one reason they lost. Second reason, where the hell was the defense? They had to go 70 yards in a minute and 30. They went 60 yards in like 30 seconds. The defense had no fight in them. Again, no pass rush. And Cousins, without any rush at all, just beep, first down, beep, 20 yards, beep, 19 yards, beep, down to the 10. By the way, let me back up before that one big play that I want to make sure that I talk about. Because they were driving again. The Falcons were driving down and basically ready to score a touchdown. And this was in the third or early fourth quarter. And CJ Gardner-Johnson, who had a big-time blown coverage on their only touchdown in the game, prior to the game-winning touchdown, he not only made a bad tackle, but was totally opposition. And I think it was Mooney who scored a touchdown, right? But CJ showed up in spades when he took B.J. Robinson one-on-one. Bijan Robinson, not B.J. Bijan Robinson one-on-one at like the 5-yard line and stuck it to him. I haven't seen a hit like that since Dawkins or maybe Malcolm Jenkins more recently. That was a big-time one-on-one mano-a-mano type play that CJ won. And that guy, that should have been enough to win the game. That was a statement play by CJ. Stopped them dead. And that's a great back, as we know. What a play that was. I really thought that was the type of play that was going to win this game for the Eagles. Nope. I had to mention that because that was a big-time play. So, getting back to Cousins, just marching down the field. And then Slay, who is our top cornerback, this is our guy that's not supposed to be getting beat, was smoked by London. He totally thought he was going inside, was playing the inside slant. Drake went outside. Easy. He was open by 10 yards. This is Slay. Horrible, horrible play by him. By the way, what I want to know is because of London's 15-yard, taunting penalty or whatever he got after a touchdown, the extra point was 48 yards back. Well, I think it was 48 yards, right? 40-something yards. I think it was 48 yards. That has to be the longest extra point attempt in NFL history. I wanted somebody to look that up. I'll ask Ruben Frank about that. I'll send him a text. Not a text, but see if he can respond to my message on his show. I don't think I've ever seen a longer extra point than 48 yards. Anyway, he made it. He was not going to miss that on the way that this game was going. And you got to give the Falcons credit. Look, the Eagles' defense looked pathetically horrible, but the Falcons still had to execute. And to go that many yards in that short a time, they left actually the Eagles too much time on the clock. It was amazing how quickly they went down the field. They were at the 12-yard line like a blink of an eye. Reminded me a lot. This game, in general, reminded me a lot of the last 8 games of last season, where the Eagles could not get out of their own way. Defense couldn't stop anybody. And I said they were the worst team in the NFL at the end of the season. Now, they didn't play like the worst team in the league, but it was reminiscent of a lot of those games before they completely collapsed that they just couldn't win. Didn't win. Games they should win that didn't win. That started the whole collapse. So just overall, horrible loss. Horrible loss. And as great as Hurts played, which I didn't think he played a pretty good game overall. Maybe great's an overstatement, but he played a very good game. Thought he was smart with the ball until the very end. But he was smart with the ball. I think he made the runs when he needed the run. I don't think he was rushing out of the pocket as much as he normally did, which is all improvements. Certainly, they missed A.J. Brown. But they could have easily won this game. Should have won this game without him. But, the Falcons did leave the Eagles with too much time on the clock. And plenty of time with two timeouts to get in range for Jake Elliott, who we know has got a big leg. And they were on the way to do that. They were about 15 yards away or so from getting into Jake's range. Still had a timeout left. Still had 25, 30 seconds, whatever was on the clock. Plenty of time. No need to force things. And this is what Jalen did way too much last season, was force plays. And he did it again at the end of this game. There was no reason for him to make that throw to a guy that was almost triple covered. There was no way that the ball was getting to Smitty. Bad decision again by Hurts. He made bad decisions in the Green Bay game as well with interceptions. Hurts' decision-making is a huge red flag to me. And, the Hurts from the Super Bowl year, he wasn't making these type of dumb decisions. Last year, made a ton of them. This year, through 2 games, he's made boneheaded decisions in both games. So he's 2 for 2 now. We're paying this guy $40 million a season. More than $40 million a season. Those type of quarterbacks don't make dumb decisions like this, especially repeatedly. And Hurts is doing it repeatedly. So I got major, major problems with that. Major concerns with Hurts. They have no need to force things. They had plenty of time, another timeout to get in range for Jake to get a shot at a game that they already blown to try to pull off a miraculous win. And Hurts just made sure that wasn't going to happen by another stupid pass. So as good of a game as he did have, major thumbs down for the way it ended by Hurts. So I normally do thumbs up, thumbs down. The whole defense, thumbs down. The entire defense, thumbs down. Because even CJ, who made that big hit I was talking about, had that big blown coverage on the touchdown. So he's not a thumbs up. He kind of levels things off, maybe. I don't think anybody stood out other than maybe Booker and in BG. BG, for a short, he just doesn't have enough in the tank anymore to be playing as much. But when he was in there, he was making impactful plays. Getting through. Booker, another guy, wasn't playing enough. But when he was in there, made plays. Bond had a good game. The rushing defense was horrible. I can't think of anybody else on defense who played well. Maybe what's his name? Mitchell, actually. I think he played a pretty good game. You didn't hear his name much. Whenever you did, he was making a play. But they tested him out early, and he made plays, and then they didn't really test him late. But just sloppy. I thought Nakobe Dean was horrible. Part of the reason why Bijan was gashing us. He was out of position a lot of times, taking the wrong hole on certain gap responsibilities. He had a really bad game. I'm looking at my notes and I already went through them all. Just trying to think of what else I wanted to point out here, but this is one of the worst losses that I can remember. And this is going to be one of those losses that's going to hurt them in the playoff seeding later in the season if they make the playoffs. Hopefully, this doesn't slide into another, horrible losing streak, because you have to wonder about the mentality of this team. This is the type of game that reminded me a lot of last season, second half of last season, when they couldn't beat anybody. So I know they were without A.J. Brown. I get it. That's a big key. But you can easily beat this team at home opener, and you lose. Find a way to lose the game. Barkley, got to catch that ball. This inexcusable drop, So now we got to play the Saints. And we got to go down to the Saints to play them down there. Be different. I would think that the Eagles had a better chance of winning this game if they were playing at home, but they don't ever win down in New Orleans. And this is a team that just absolutely destroyed the Cowboys, which was a lot of fun. And they scored like 90-something points in their first 2 games of the season. And they must be licking their chops looking at this defense they saw on TV tonight. I mean, they might put a 50 a burger on us next week. I'm not even kidding. So, Fangio needs to figure out what to do on this defense to get a pass rush. He's going to have his hands full trying to stop this Saints offense. Derek Carr playing out of his mind right now. Kamara looks like he's been reborn. Saints team is just tearing through defenses as it is, let alone this horrible defense coming in. I have major concerns. That's probably my biggest takeaway from this game is how bad this Eagles run defense is, and the fact that for the second straight game have got no pass rush whatsoever from the outside. None. And I'm not used to that as an Eagle fan at all. Ever. I mean, I can't even remember when the last time we didn't have a good pass rush from the outside. At least one guy. Oftentimes we have 2 guys. But to have nobody, man, I'd be on the horn with Reddick's agent right now and the Jets. By the way, I don't think that's possible that they would ever get him back, but just has me thinking. All right, well, listen, thanks again for tuning in. I don't want to make this too long. Horrible loss tonight, and we're all feeling it. It's going to be a long week, and it might be a long 2 weeks because I don't know. They got to play the New Orleans Saints and then the Buccaneers. 2 straight games against teams that they don't play well against at all, and both teams are undefeated right now. So we could very easily be 1-3 by the end of first month of the season. How quickly things change from week to week in the NFL. It really, really does. All right, listen, we will have a midweek show. We're going to have another little recap about this one. We'll have hopefully Matt back to talk about this game. Look forward to the Saints game. No NFC East opponent this week, so we probably won't have any other special guests on. We're going to probably save those up for the NFC East battles as we go. But nevertheless, again, I can't thank you enough for watching. Make sure you take 1 second and click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future content. Really appreciate it. Until next time, tough loss tonight. We'll have to try to figure things out fast. Short week, too, to go against the Saints next week. But, man, let's hope that this was a big wake-up call for the Eagles. And we can get ready and, we'll talk about the Saints and a little bit more about this game on our next episode, next podcast. All right. So, again, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll catch you all next time. Thanks.